15. Lost in Vivo. This controversial, horrifying little game is well worth the time and money of anyone searching for an honest-to-goodness, independent survival horror game, excluding a few small technical difficulties, or anybody looking for a good, scary experience in general. Here, a wide range of inspirations are boldly displayed on different sleeves. Silent Hill stands out the most. Anyone acquainted with that series would recognize the sound design, overall gameplay, numerous rusty hell dungeons, and even some UI and UX features. However, a number of components also specifically mention the history of solo-tier independent horror, particularly during its peak popularity in 2015. Environments and monsters parody generic horror cliches and ideas from the SCP universe. Throughout, there are meta subversions and grim-faced self-awareness that harken back to games like Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion, which the developer previously worked on, and Miscar. You see, it is scary to be lost in Vivo. Quite surprisingly, terrifying. The grotesqueness of their designs and the hair-raising discomfort of their noises are punctuated with a joyous, dark sense of humor, which makes the adversary design particularly terrifying. It's emotional, unvarnished, and incredibly disturbing. 14. 10 Dead Doves. Interesting indie psychological horror game with a Lynchian quality to its eerie surrealism, a hint of melancholy, and a lot of foreboding. Batteries included, layers of depth, cute or ugly artwork reminiscent of PSX, and persistent perplexity. The story is paramount in this narrative-focused game. And despite all the creative confusion, it creates a respectable, scary mood. It's not loud or forceful, rather it's more like a faint buzzing that never goes away in the back of your mind, alerting you to the fact that something is seriously amiss, but that you're not quite sure what it is. It completes itself with creative, eerie graphics and powerful environmental scares. You always had a task to complete, or an occasional puzzle to solve, even if the most of your time would be spent walking and having conversations and visions. All of it only contributes to the general unease of neither you, the player, nor the character you play knowing what's happening, and always on alert. None of it is difficult, or even intended to be so, in my opinion. It's worth mentioning separately how difficult it is to use the controls to get past these shenanigans. They are mushroom tank controls, and I guess the fact that this is a favorable review is evidence of the storyline. This is for the masochists. 13. Crow Country. Crow Country is a psychological horror game that combines PS1 era graphics with a bizarre, Lynchian atmosphere. Don't be fooled by the pixelated look. You investigate a deserted theme park, solving a mystery full of mysterious riddles and eerie symbolism. Fantastic game. An intriguing fusion of classic survival horror with a contemporary touch. I was captivated by the plot, scenery, and ambiance the entire time. Even though I finished the game in just over 5 hours, secrets included, I had a great time playing it. This is a must-see for fans of classic survival horror, such as Silent Hill and Resident Evil. This is also an excellent place to start if you're afraid of traditional survival horror. It offers you a number of useful choices to personalize your experience and make it somewhat simpler, or more difficult if you so choose. I will definitely keep an eye out for SFB Games' upcoming releases. Crow Country is a must-see if you enjoy traditional survival horror but are looking for something new and genuinely unsettling. 12. Mouthwashing. You'll be blown away by this eerie first-person horror game, man. Nevertheless, the gameplay itself falls short of the premise's expectations, taking care of the maimed Captain Curly's needs. Tasks that are frequently ambiguous and frustratingly obtuse is the central loop. Although the game's rhythm is a little erratic, it is still a masterpiece. It provides an insight into a genuinely terrifying situation. If you enjoy these kinds of games and are interested in exploration and story-driven games, this might be your best option. There were times when I was so affected by the atmosphere that I actually felt nervous. You'll most likely like this if you appreciate surreal horror narrative games. I wish I had lesser expectations going into this, because I don't usually play narrative games. It's made up of vignettes that occasionally feel disconnected from the tale, making it more strange than I anticipated. It's similar to viewing a David Lynch film. To grasp what was happening, I'll have to read up on it further. Perhaps it's the sort of game that requires repeated play. I would definitely recommend it. 11. The Evil Within. A masterwork of survival horror, The Evil Within skillfully combines ugly cinematic imagery with psychological strain. With its suffocating atmosphere, unpredictable opponents, and strict resource management, Shinji Mikami's game perfectly nails the sense of fear. Players are continuously on edge thanks to its surreal music and warped environment design, which makes for an exciting but nerve-wracking experience. However, the game becomes a brutal gauntlet on Akumu Hard. Every encounter is a cruel test of nerves and accuracy due to one-hit kills and faster, more intelligent adversaries. It's not only more difficult, it's also harsh. This mode eliminates all margin for error and necessitates level knowledge and mechanic expertise. The joy of surviving Akuma's ruthless violence is unparalleled, but only the most resilient players will be able to withstand it. I think that games like this are becoming increasingly rare, and in that sense, I think that this is a true gem of a game that I enjoy playing, experiencing like seeing and hearing. The successor of this game had adopted a different style, at least in the approach to graphics. So enjoy this game with its aesthetic from almost a bygone era. 10. Outlast 2. Everything that was successful in the original game is back, but it's more intense, uncomfortable, and extremely religious. The psychologically ill genius who believe that achievements should only be unlocked if you don't die, heal, or quit the game is sitting in the center of this psychological anguish. Every time you blink incorrectly, a man with a dream will force you to restart everything. Indeed, the first time, the horror works. By the seventh try, however, you're just enduring the same screams, the same hanging guts, and the same terror. It's now a violent, incense-scented bureaucratic nightmare instead of dread. Some claim that Outlast 1 was superior because it was more terrifying and adrenaline pumping, but I disagree. Both games are excellent at creating terror. This one effectively creates the feeling that you are in a village full of crazy people where death and pure insanity are commonplace. You might not be able to fully comprehend what is happening in this one, so I suggest delving deeper into the lore to fully grasp it, because I promise you will have many questions after you finish the game. 9. As you play the psychological horror game The Medium, you'll interact with both the physical and ethereal realms at the same time. Bloober Team developed it, and it has rich narrative elements, strong emotions, and a deep atmosphere. Its plot was more impressive than that of many AAA games developed by larger companies. The writing is superb. I particularly enjoy the well-crafted dialogue that draws the reader into the story and gives them a sense of the characters' inner lives. It took its sweet time maturing and going through all the motions, and the payoff was delightful and unexpected. I was also really impressed by the gameplay and camera tactics. The split-screen feature is absolutely unique and has never been seen before. The camera technique, which is adjusted depending on the scene, gives the game a distinct personality, which I absolutely adore. The animations and graphics are decent, but the characters' lip sync may be better. Otherwise, the characters are superbly modeled. The music that sets the tone in each scene is really noteworthy. The composers clearly put a lot of thought into selecting their themes, and they add a wonderful touch of character to each one. As someone who loves the Silent Hill series, I have to admit that the game captured the series' signature eerie atmosphere to a T. I think everyone should give it a go since it's so good for Bloober Team's first major project. 8. Cry of Fear. Cry of Fear is more than simply a game. It's a surreal journey into psychological terror that will make you doubt reality and your own sanity. You take on the role of Simon, a man who, following a terrible vehicle crash, awakens in the dead of night on a deserted street. After this, you're in for a truly horrific adventure through seedy neighborhoods, terrifying monsters, and other unsettling settings that will make you doubt your sanity. Because let's be honest, when you're ensnared in a mine that's crumbling, monsters are the least of your worries. The game is as about mood and psychological strain as it is about survival. As for the actual gameplay, traditional nightmare genre. Combat that feels awkwardly clumsy adds to the tension and anxiety of every encounter, along with limited resources and eerie locations. It won't be easy, but you'll be using a variety of weaponry, including guns, melee weapons, and environmental traps. There is a severe shortage of both ammo and health. The struggle for survival is what makes each win. feel more meaningful, and each setback more devastating. Cry of Fear is at its best when it comes to psychological terror. You're up against more than just creatures, you're up against your own thoughts as well. There is a great deal of fuzziness between reality and hallucination, and the game masterfully uses the same techniques of suspense that Silent Hill fans are familiar with to get you to the verge of panic. 7. Dredge. Dredge has been fantastic for me. There's just the right amount of tension and calm in Dredge, which works well with its creepy setting and compelling plot. Being able to take things easy and enjoy the game is great. While being stranded at sea at night may not necessarily spell doom, it certainly adds an air of mystery and dread, moments that elicit a steady stream of adrenaline, something a timid player like me may truly enjoy. I can't wait to find out what happens next in the story. Playing the role of a fisherman in a picturesque seaside town, you soon discover that the water holds hideous secrets. No other horror game in recent memory compares to Dredge, a bizarre hybrid of cosmic terror and fishing simulator. Your sanity begins to crumble as the sun sets. Items with an excess of tentacles, teeth, or eyes will be among the numerous items you capture. The setting is bizarre, frightening, and reminiscent of Lovecraft. The amount is proportional. Dredge is a scary and addictive game that won't let you go. 6. Amnesia, the bunker. The main distinction between Amnesia the Bunker and the earlier games is that the gameplay is given more attention than the plot. This does not imply that the story is poor. On the contrary, it is quite good. It is often likened to one of my favorite games, Alien Isolation, if you read other reviews. I think that there are some similarities, therefore, if you enjoy that game, you should definitely try this one. The gameplay of Amnesia, the Bunker, for those who are unfamiliar with Alien. Isolation essentially consists of attempting to escape the bunker while being pursued by a creature. It makes extensive use of sound-based gameplay techniques. The monster can locate you and attempt to kill you, depending on how hard it is and how much noise you make. As the game goes on, you will discover more about the plot. Amnesia. The bunker offers a good blend of action and stealth gameplay, as well as a respectable horror plot. Make sure to check this one out if you think it's intriguing. Because of its emphasis on gameplay, this game is more difficult than the earlier Amnesia games. There aren't any puzzles in the game, and if you like more conventional adventure games, you might not enjoy the particular gameplay mechanics. 5. Alien Isolation. The original Alien was a part of my upbringing, and not in the causal sense of, yes, I saw it once. No, that scene on the table traumatized me as the child. The cat didn't give a damn. The thing exploding from a chest etched deeply into my spirit. Thus, entering Alien. Isolation was like reliving a very specific, horrifying childhood memory, although with a motion tracker and marginally improved motor abilities. It's an ambient ritual rather than merely a game. Chef's Kiss. The creaking of the Sevastopol, the darkness, the sheer terror of hearing movement in a locker while holding your breath. Even though the AI occasionally behaves as though it has had too many coffee refills in the reactor core, the immersion is still maintained. In fact, it heightens the unpredictability of the fear. Furthermore, let's face it, the dream or nightmare is just half of what it would be aboard a spacecraft like the Nostromo. I kept noticing myself just listening while standing motionless, up in the air, to the vessel. Before the shriek, there was silence. This game goes beyond simply honoring the original. It turns into it. It's beautiful, infuriating, frightening, and strangely reassuring if you were also brought up on VHS cassettes and unresolved fear about aliens. 4. Darkwood. Darkwood is a fantastic, eerie gameplay experience by fusing distinctive line-of-sight mechanics with a masterfully composed, horrific horror atmosphere. For the first few hours, anyway. For a lover of independent horror games like myself, Darkwood's eerie world-building and gloomy mood were excellent. Every minute was filled with suspense or horrifying moments, and almost every set piece was flawlessly executed. Despite how great these highs were, there were a lot of down points in the gaming. Because it doesn't solely rely on dread of the unknown, this game is amazing. Almost everything can be explained as to why it is occurring, but no matter what you know, every night feels like a battle for your life. You learn more, yet the atmosphere and tension you experience at night hardly ever change. With a shotgun, a pistol, and a shovel, you go from hiding in a corner of the dry meadow to wandering the hall on the point of urinating and prepared to battle for your life. The story's lesson is to focus, be patient, respect the forest, and face your concern. 3. Silent Hill 2 Remake. A wonderful ode to all of the original game's fans and a shining example of how a good remake ought to be created. Distinct, revisited, but true to the main ideas and mood of the original. Even though Silent Hill 2 has been out for 24 years, playing this game made me want to play it again for the first time. Nobody could possibly want more than this, in my opinion. It's not flawless, yes. Although there are occasional technological glitches and some dubious design decisions, the overall experience is unaffected by these minor issues. The boss fights, more than anything else, seem frantic and frightening without being tamed, retaining all the original charm, and successfully transferring it into a modernized context. If anything, several features of the game have been much improved over the PS2 version. Admittedly, I didn't think the Bloober team would produce such a fantastic piece. All I can say is that if you have never played one of the greatest works of art in history, this is the ideal opportunity to do it in a revitalized version. You won't be let down even if you've been a fan for a long time. Believe me. 2. Resident Evil 2. I found myself returning to Steam for more after finishing the Resident Evil 2 remake on the PS4 when it was first released in 2019. Yes, I had to buy it again, but it was well worth the money. This game is one of the greatest survival horror experiences in recent memory because it skillfully combines the nostalgia of the original with contemporary innovations. First, let's talk about the tempo. It's done flawlessly. The game maintains your interest throughout by striking a mix between fighting, puzzle solving, and exploration. Although there is a noticeable sense of dread, the game never seems to drag. You never feel overpowered by the intensity. It's always just right to keep you on edge. The game understands precisely when to slow down and give you a chance to catch your breath before hurling you back into the fire. And when it does, the action picks up speed without ever seeming forced. Another noteworthy aspect is the art style. Every setting has an amazing amount of detail, making the police station, sewers, and other places feel very real. I have no qualms about suggesting Resident Evil 2 Remake to anyone searching for an engrossing, skillfully made game that honors the past while simultaneously looking to the future. It is a masterwork of survival horror. 1. Alan Wake 2, which skillfully combines psychological terror with an engaging plot, is a masterpiece of narrative-driven video games. The story is absolutely engrossing, drawing you into a sinister and perverse universe where every little detail counts. You will be gripped from beginning to end by the story's depth and complexity. The psychological horror components are expertly done, producing a spooky yet exciting environment. The characters are deep and nuanced, which enhances the already captivating plot. The conversations and plot twists are made even more interesting by the distinct contributions that each character makes. Alan Wake 2 has amazing visuals. With realistic character models and intricate surroundings, the graphics are excellent and contribute to the overall immersive experience. Each scene has been meticulously created, adding to the game's eerily lovely visuals. To sum up, Alan Wake 2 is an amazing game that shines in visual presentation, character development, and plot. Fans of narrative-driven games and psychological horror should definitely play it.